Well, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for your interest in my visit to Yemen, which is the third visit as a president of ICRC that I do in the country. And I just wanted once again to underline the deep concern that ICRC has for the humanitarian situation in Yemen. And my visit is here to further strengthen the work of ICRC, to listen to populations affected and to engage with authorities in the whole of the country. My program started here in Aden. I had a virtual meeting with the Prime Minister of the Yemeni government. I had an in-person meeting with the President of the STC. I will go tomorrow to Sada and Sana'a, and I will leave Monday Yemen to continue my trip. Just to give you the program, and in each of the destinations here in Aden and the environment, but also in Sada and Sana'a, I will have an opportunity to watch and to look at ICRC's programs and also to engage with populations affected in Yemen by the present situation. The largest operation, we also recognize that we can only respond to part of the needs. Other actors in the international community and locally will have also to step up to the plate and increase their operations. Those who follow us for quite some time, you basically know which areas are the most focus areas of ICRC. We are strong in our health response in Yemen, in water and sanitation. We have microeconomic projects and support for populations displaced. And of course, our second pillar is really engaging with all the armed actors in Yemen to respect international humanitarian law and to engage and to support ICRC in its access to populations in need, those who are particularly affected at those front lines. So access to those populations who are displaced, who are in need, is of critical importance. And again, the support of the parties is absolutely essential so that ICRC can work. And therefore, this is part of my engagement during my trip with authorities on all sides. With my visit, I also want to raise the issue of detainees on all sides in the conflict. You know that ICRC has been active in facilitating exchanges of detainees. A major release operation has taken place in October. This trip is certainly also an important moment to renew our commitment and our interest to continue to work on the issue of detainees, to have access to all the detainees held in the context of the conflict, to be able to assist and to create humane conditions for those detained, and to prepare the ground for release operations, which should happen as soon as possible. Secondly, I wanted to highlight that as a neutral intermediary, ICRC is always ready also to support the parties in the retrieval of dead bodies, into the search for missing people. And this is again a second important priority of the conversations I have here in the country. I thirdly wanted to highlight the complexity of today's situation and the necessity to continue our emergency work for those who are immediately affected by the conflict, but also to work for the rehabilitation of basic infrastructures, to create income generating activities for population disrupted and unrooted. Looking at both sides of ICRC's activity, I wanted to highlight the importance of working today not only on emergency, which is absolutely critical and at the core of ICRC's activity, but also to help stabilize the lives and livelihoods and communities of Yemeni and therefore to focus more prominently in the future on income-generating activities and critical infrastructure. I wanted to make a fifth point and highlight that COVID-19 has been a major concern of the global community, of all countries in the world, including Yemen. And ICRC has reacted as a humanitarian organization to the urgency of COVID-19 by providing a specific COVID-19 clinic here in Aden, which I had the opportunity to visit. And at the same time, my visit is here also to rebalance again the attention of the international community away from COVID-19 to the complexity of the situation and to sensitize the international community that there is a conflict ongoing, that there are needs ongoing which are beyond COVID. And so the humanitarian response needs certainly to support the authorities in fighting COVID, but need also to have a broader perspective and be able to refocus again on those displaced, those in need because of the conflicts, and the more systemic and structural issues which I have spoken about before. Let me just conclude these introductory remarks in highlighting that I'm more than ever convinced that the international community has to fund more generously the work of the ICRC, the International Red Cross and the Red Crescent Movement, and of other international actors in Yemen, because you know the key figures which are at the origins of our concern. Yemen is a country with 80% of the population in need of humanitarian assistance, with half of the health infrastructure in very bad shape or destroyed from the conflict compared to pre-war periods, with 20 million people food insecure, with children in particular suffering from malnutrition. I could go on, but the indicators are all pointing to the wrong direction. And therefore, it is of critical importance that this visit, and I hope that this visit is also heard by international donors in the region and globally, to rebalance their focus and their interest, and to go back again to recognize the depth and breadth of the crisis in Yemen, to which the ICRC, I think, has a valuable contribution to make as an assistance organization, as a protection organization, as a neutral intermediary in that conflict. But of course, other international agencies and states have to step up to the plate to stabilize the situation, which is one of the most serious humanitarian crises that we are watching in the world. And therefore, my call is definitely for the international community to focus more prominently and to fund more generously the operation in Yemen. And before you ask me the question, I wanted just to give you the key figures of ICRC's engagement. We have, at the present moment, are running this operation in Yemen overall on a budget of 128 million Swiss francs, which is roughly the same as dollars, a little bit more in dollars. That we have roughly 700 people working for the ICRC in Yemen. And as you are aware, we are working out of Aden, out of Sana'a, Sada, Hodeidah, Marib. We are in the process of opening an office in Ib and Autobahn. So we will continue as good as we can on the one side to focus on the most critical populations, on the most critical areas, and at the same time try to be as close as possible to people by as good as possible also creating new offices which are able to service the population in close proximity.